Three, two, one.
What's up, y'all? I'm just Drado.
Yeah, and I'm Phil Special Meter, and we are 2/3 of hard mode selected, and we are a bunch of Linkin Park heads. We are Linkin Park fans over here. What about it? We've got some stuff to talk about today. We both recently just found out that about the recently announced Linkin Park from Xero. Yes, Linkin Park from Xero. Yeah.
Literally from the text that you sent me today, I was eating dinner and I was like, huh? What? What is this? What is this information that I had no idea about? But apparently we're not the only ones in this boat. This was recently, everybody just found out about this together at the same time. So at least I'm not that far behind. I think this was just announced yesterday from what I saw. So
yeah, there was like there's a whole like live stream and everything going on. And to be fair, the homie Drado was off on an adventure, which welcome back, by the way.
Thank you.
I imagine we'll get more into that with some of the upcoming stuff we're covering, because I feel like it's like tangentially related to some things that we're going to be reviewing and talking about. But no, man, I'm glad you had a blast in Nihon.
Good to be back. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I saw that they had, I guess it was not a listening party, but like some event or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I guess it was just to tease the album from Xero. But also I heard it was like a 5-hour event. Were they performing for like 5 hours? Is that what?
Yeah, it looked like the stream. I looked it up on YouTube, and it looked like the stream is about like a 7-hour video or whatever. So I don't know. I didn't take the time to watch it, so I have no idea what the fuck happened with it. I had been watching the Linkin Park, like I follow Linkin Park on Instagram, right? And so like I've been following them, and I've been seeing the like updates that like they were counting down, and it sounded like they had something to announce. And I just figured, okay, more goodies from the Linkin Park vault, right? Like I'm thinking like, they gave us all that dope unreleased stuff from Meteora. Which you got in the background there somewhere just behind your head.
Yes.
And Hybrid Theory over there.
20th anniversary.
Hey, shout out to them for that. So like I just thought like, okay, they've been releasing some top tier stuff that just had not been previously released. Like they had basically been on this tip of like, look, obviously, without Chester here, the fan base is still strong. Y'all been supporting us. We do want to celebrate these milestones. And we got these other tracks that like weren't bad by any means. Like they didn't suck. They just, we committed to a specific number of tracks per album, and something had to not make the cut. So their philosophy was like, all right, let's remove the ones that, already kind of sound similar to something we already have. Like I remember they released the track Lost, and it's like, we already have Numb, and Lost and Numb kind of a similar vibe. So they kind of like picked one, So with that, I thought like, okay, for sure. Like we're going to get some unreleased stuff from maybe some other albums, or just unreleased tracks that just don't have an album. Like maybe they were just like, just songs that they recently finished or whatever. And then, and then it was like from Xero. I'm like, what does this mean? And I was just like, then the live stream happened, which I missed. And then I just kind of was poking around yesterday and today. And I was like, oh, wow.
Information.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in, First of all, I guess to break it down, From Xero, for those who don't know, is the title of their newest album. Yes, Linkin Park is back with a brand new album, brand new. How many tracks is it?
It is.
It's like 10.
Yep, it's 11. 11 songs.
It's 11. Thank you.
Yeah.
They're back with 11 tracks. They released the first song, not the first song in order on the album, but like they released their first like single, I guess. The Emptiness Machine. And they also announced some new members. We have a new
surprise.
Yeah, we got a new co-lead vocalist in the form of Emily Armstrong, who I guess had co-founded Dead Sarah in 2005. I'm not familiar. I've never like followed her career. And I believe we have another new member. I know one of the founding members, the drummer from Linkin Park, had also left.
OG
Rob,
left.
Yeah.
Borden.
Yeah. So,
yep.
So I guess I didn't read enough on this, guys, to be real with you. It's all happened so fast. But I'm assuming they either got a new drummer or like just another new like musician in the band, regardless.
Yeah.
So with this, I feel like it's I just kind of anticipated like a lot of different like wild opinions going around the internet, and I just like having known Drado for a few years now, we both are big fans of this band. Like Drado, is this your favorite band? Would you say? Do you have a favorite band?
Ooh, is this my favorite band? I would say they're definitely top. They're definitely up there. I do have a good list of other bands that I truly enjoy. I enjoy Green Day. I enjoy Blink 182. I enjoy Panic at the Disco. So it's a couple of bands that I do enjoy.
Yeah.
I would say I listened to Linkin Park first. It was my introduction to the rock genre of music. Mostly because I started off getting into R&B and then hip hop, and then because Linkin Park has that fusion of hip hop and rock incorporated in their songs, that's what kind of gravitated me towards it in middle school. I moved out from Detroit to the suburbs, had never heard any rock music prior, and that was like my first step into the door of that genre, and that's probably why I put them top, first. I don't want to say they're like my number one favorite, but they're definitely a favorite. I'll say that.
Word.
Only because I've listened to a majority of their albums, if not all of them. So yeah, that's the history.
Yeah. No, similarly, they're also one of the bands that is forever in my rotation. They're definitely like I don't have like a ranking per se. Like everyone knows what my favorite band is. That's about it. Everything else is just sort of like I like these a lot. But if I had to guess, Linkin Park is most definitely in my top 10. Probably in my top 5, right? If I ever bother to compile that list. Yeah. So Linkin Park, I mean, they mean a lot to me just because their release, Hybrid Theory, it hit at such a critical time in my particular evolution as a human being. Like I was I was a teenager, and I was going through those changes, right? And I think the teenage years, like especially when I was like middle school and up, like those were the years of like really dealing with the realities of your hormones are changing, your psychology is changing, your people you thought were your friends aren't your friends anymore. My parents are starting to get divorced. Like it was just that time in my life. So like Linkin Park was great because for many of the reasons I got into rock music, I also grew up on primarily R&B because shout out to the parents, that's what they had on nonstop. And then we just were the hip hop generation, like 80s 90s kids, just kind of like especially gangster rap and all that. But I love the whole history of hip hop. I love R&B. I love pop music. Pop was also a big thing in the 90s and stuff. And I kind of found my way into rock music through Green Day. They were kind of my entry drug. And I think the thing that got me about Green Day was just the whole concept of the stuff they were singing about. I kind of like gotten a little bit fatigued with gangster rap just because I was like, there's a handful that I'm like, I really love because they're telling it as it is. They're just speaking their lives. They're telling a story, you know, Biggie and Pac and, so many NWA, like all these guys were like just being real. And then gangster rap became sort of, popular music. And so you got some guys in there that were just like, I'm just going to be hard and thug because that's what sells. And I was just like, I don't know, like bitches and money and like all this stuff they're going on
Some
and on
things you
about.
just can't relate to. It's good.
Yeah.
It's entertaining. It's entertaining
Yeah.
music and it sounds good, but sometimes you need something that you can kind of that you can relate to and feel, and
Yeah.
I get it. I definitely get that.
So yeah, it just felt like they were like, their aspirations and their fixations in their lives were just, getting worlds and worlds away from like what I felt I was personally going through. So I started getting into Green Day because here they were like singing about like depression and like angst and like uncertainty about where their lives are going and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, word. Like, I didn't know I fucked with this like this, but I guess I do. And I felt seen. So I started to fall down the rabbit hole, and like Foo Fighters was kicking ass, and like Matchbox 20 was something my friends were already listening to. Like, it was just refreshing to find a new outlet, a new like, hey, this also speaks to me. But yeah, getting back to Linkin Park, I think they really crystallized that feeling of just feeling like you're the only one that is going through this weird experience of alienation, and like, you're struggling with your mental health, and like you're having some problems that are like causing social issues between you and people who know you, and like you want to be better, but you don't know how to be better. And like, they just had like all of that going on. And it was just, the lyrics were just so specific and so beautiful. And you had the advantage of, an amazing rock and roll singing voice, and then like an amazing like lyricist / rapper, like just collabing and like just capturing different aspects of it. Like sometimes even on the same song, it has a central theme, but like what Chester is singing about and what Mike is rapping about, they're coming from different places, but they somehow mesh. And I'm like, this is fucking dope. This is fucking dope.
No, it was a beautiful thing to dive into that world as a teenager. Again, never wasn't into that type of music before moving into a whole completely different area. Because for those that do not know, I was born and raised in Detroit, and then once I hit my teenager years, I moved to the suburbs, to this small town called Belleville, and I did not have any friends there. I was brand new, no friends. Predominantly white school, or white students. Not a lot of black students there, or students of color. And I was feeling kind of alone, in the sense of I didn't know how to approach people. I saw it was like everyone was dressed differently. I felt like, I don't know if anyone's ever like watched Rocket Power, but I felt like I felt like Sam. For those that didn't watch Rocket Power, I felt like Sam going into that world where I was just this nerd from Detroit, and then all of these kids are like in skateboard pants that have the zipper where the knees are, and that turn into shorts, and then they had the Japanese Asian button down shirts with the different colors of black and red and black and blue, and it was just a lot of stuff that I wasn't familiar with. It was like stepping into a whole new world, and I was trying my best to try and, I guess, not fit in per se, but just kind of like still remain me, but trying to see how I could mesh my world with this world without making it seem like I was a poser or trying to pretend to be somebody that I wasn't. I wanted to still remain me and still be into the things I was into, but be introduced to new things and be okay to not have to change my ways or change myself, or it's weird. But
Is it that interesting? Yeah.
I was
No, go
no,
ahead.
go ahead. No, I was just gonna say I was making friends slowly as I started middle school. My very first friend was someone of color, someone who was another black kid who turned out to be someone who was in a similar boat. They were there longer than me in Belleville, so I kind of gained friends from his clique. So I got a chance to be around others who were into certain, different types of music, from rock and roll, heavy metal, pop, obviously. So just getting into those conversations with them about, what kind of music, because music was a huge thing for me as a teenager. Like that was like something that was therapeutic for me. It got me through a lot of tough times growing up. And then once I did move to Belleville, it was one of those things where I got to have conversations about music now with other people and get introduced to this new genre of music, which in my computer class, my computer teacher was playing Linkin Park. I had no idea who it was as I was listening to it. And we were doing whatever assignment we were doing on the computer. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. It got me through the class. I left class like I approached my teacher like, "Wait, who was that you were playing?" And he introduced me to it. He was playing Hybrid Theory, and I was truly like astonished at what I had just listened to. I was like, wow, this is not something that I've ever heard before. Because my friends, they had their genres of music that they would, listen to, and I'd hear it. The heavy metal, I couldn't really get into it because it was like extreme, I guess. And then with pop, I knew of NSYNC, I knew of Backstreet Boys, I knew of all these other, artists, 98 Degrees, all these people. And it was one of those things where some songs were cool, but because I was mostly into R&B, hip hop, I was looking for something that I could, I guess, kind of slowly make my way into those other genres of rock, pop, all those things. And then once I heard Linkin Park, I was like, wait, Mike is rapping in here? And I was like, is that allowed? Are they allowed to do this? And I think that's what gravitated me towards Linkin Park first. That being introduced from my computer teacher, and then I dove deep into their earlier catalog back then. I think Meteora was out at that point, where I listened to, because it was like 2002. So yeah, I think Meteora was out by then, right?
Yes, Meteora was 2003.
2003. Okay, so it was around that time where Meteora was either out or they were dropping a single, whatever happened, and I was able to dive deep into like I was researching like the band members, the history, learning about how they started, finding out about who started it and yada yada, and then just learning all of that stuff about Linkin Park opened up doors for me to get into these other artists and these other bands and these other genres of music. I'm at the point now where I literally listen to everything. I have some heavy metal songs that I enjoy. I have some pop joints, some alternative music that I wasn't even like savvy to, that I got into, that were like old alternative music songs from like the 70s, 80s. So just opening up those doors for me to like get into different genres of music was a great thing for me, because it gives me a chance for me to not only have music that I can relate to, but also have a way for me to discover all these other different sides of me that I didn't know were there, that I can express myself through musically myself as an artist, because I also do music as well. And not be afraid to jump into those different genres. Like if I want to do a rock song, or if I want to sing, or if I want to yada yada. Because I used to feel like I was boxing myself in. I felt like I was like, I should only be a rapper because I'm a black kid. That's literally where my thoughts were back then. And knowing that I'm able to do all these other different types of music, that's dope. That's really dope.
Shout out to the genre breakers, right?
Yeah.
Linkin Park falls in that category.
Yeah.
I should give, I know people are going to boo or whatever, but shout out to Limp Bizkit. My brother was huge in Limp
Yeah.
Bizkit when they were out,
Yep.
and like they were fucking around with like Method Man and like the Wu-Tang Clan and shit. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, they're all right then. You know, like,
I was truly a
Michael-
fan of Beastie Boys. I loved listening to Beastie Boys growing up.
Yes,
Yeah.
hip hop classics, but also had that rock and roll infused in their delivery. Michael Jackson, we were like the Michael Jackson generation, you know,
Yep.
the Pepsi generation, right? So like he was, he still is my favorite solo artist, but like he was just like he didn't care. Like a lot of people didn't know how he was going to reinvent himself as an adult. And the answer was he was just going to create his own lane by doing mixing together whatever sounds he wanted, you know? And I was like, that's sick. And I didn't realize at the time how much that stuff really made an impression on me as a person. But really, the genre mashup is my favorite thing in all of art.
Same.
Like a lot of my favorite stories are and movies and stuff are like it's science fiction, horror, drama, comedy. Like it does all the things, right? You know, and I really enjoy the creativity and flexibility of that. I think that's why I like superheroes so much and comic books so much, because they're like they have all that stuff. There's fantasy and magic, and there's science fiction and you know there's action and martial arts, and there's drama and there's heart and there's character and there's, you know, they have a sense of humor. So like you know, with music, same thing, and just like, you know, painting and drawing, same thing. Like I love the collision course.
Yes.
Shout out to
Collision
Linkin Park
course is
and
fire.
Jay-Z.
I never saw that. I don't even know like how that came about. I mean, obviously it was the labels at work, you know, but getting that is like history. Like that's stamped in history forever. Like I never would have even thought of like putting those two artists, that band and that artist together. Like I don't even know if that's ever been done, other than like we've had the Run DMC Aerosmith stuff, and we've had like certain stuff like that, but I don't know, it just felt different when that happened with Collision Course.
I think what's so interesting about that is that it's so like it's just a great example of like when you fucking love music, you love the history of it, but you're also excited about what's on the horizon. So you had Linkin Park in the position of like, they fucking look up to Jay-Z. Jay-Z had made this, you know, whole career for himself as you know, as an artist. And, you know, they fucked with that. And they're fans. And then you've got Jay-Z, who didn't stop listening to music. Jay-Z is a Fall Out Boy fan. Jay-Z fucked with Linkin Park. Like Jay-Z listens, like, I think there's this, like, you know, Pete Wentz talked about this from Fall Out Boy. He was like, there's this misconception that when you are an artist in a specific genre, like we're supposed to pretend we don't listen to other genres, and that's bullshit. Like, you know, like they're listening to rap and they're listening to, you know, country and listening to all the stuff. And same thing, you know, for hip hop artists and so many other genres. You know, that's why you get so many like hip hop and country collaborations, and you know, that's why you get these unexpected pairings. Yeah, Nelly, shout out to Nelly, St. Louis represent. But before I go much deeper into this, I wanted to backtrack to something you said, like you describing your high school experience. Not only is there some overlap with mine, but like what was interesting about it to me, you the way you phrased it, trying to find a way to mesh your world with their world and like still be you, but still like, you know, connect. And I was just like, I couldn't help but think like, isn't that the most like Kingdom Hearts thing ever? Like that's what Sora does every fucking game. Like
it's true.
He's from Destiny Island and he has his own thing going on, but every world he goes to, he gets a little bit of their flair, a little bit of their style, but he's still Sora. He's still Sora. He doesn't lose who he is. And I feel like
good comparison.
Yeah, I think that's maybe a subconscious reason. Another subconscious reason I appreciate those games, because I definitely felt that as well. Just that sense of like high school for me was especially that sense of like, I don't feel like I belong in a specific spot. Like I don't have like I was athletic, but I wasn't a jock, right? Like I wasn't on any teams. I had a history of like playing music. I had started band when I was in I think 4th grade and played through 8th grade, and like so I had appreciation for music, but like I wasn't doing anything specific in high school like that. I kind of found my way into theater towards the end of high school, which was cool. But like, I still didn't feel like I hung out with those kids. Like like it wasn't like that wasn't my clique, right? So like, every time I would sit at lunch, a lot of times I was either sitting alone or I was just sitting with different people each time. And it was just sort of like whoever was open to like, talking to me or whatever. So I did sit with a lot of like, kind of the grunge and like, outcast, kids. And I did sit with like, the handful of black kids that are at my second high school, and like I did hang out with like the geeks and like the comic book geeks and everything like that, and so it was like a mixture all the time, and it was that weird thing where you feel like you don't belong. There's a loneliness and a pain there, but like you also feel like you kind of can fit in a little bit everywhere. It's just kind of like the funny thing was always you be sitting with somebody, you're like, I fuck with this, and like, yeah, we can get along, and then they bring up something they don't fuck with, and you're like, oh, but I do fuck with that though. Like, they try to make you feel weird. Like I'll be sitting with some kids that are like, into the metal and the harder stuff, and I'll be like, they'll make fun of Backstreet Boys or something, but I'm like, hey, but I like Backstreet Boys. So that was always an interesting thing. But yeah, I think my high school experience very similar. Just like I'd drifted from I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. So once again, Nelly represent St. Louis Ticks. But like I was about the year. Yeah, it was about when year. I'll dox myself. It was about year 2000. So I was about 15 or so about that point. And that's when Hybrid Theory dropped. And like when I was 15 was the year that I kind of the news that my parents were getting divorced was dropped, and like the decision of like, do you want to stay in St. Louis with your mom, or do you want to go to Michigan with your dad? And it was just sort of like spending that whole summer trying to like suss that out and figure out what I wanted and everything. And it was just like Linkin Park was a great companion to just all those pent up feelings that I had, and like then moving. And then by the time we hit like, like 2003 and Meteora is out, and like the singles are out for, Somewhere I Belong and shit like that. Yeah. Like that was just, that sent me. That was just like, I really just don't feel like I have a spot anymore. Like St. Louis is no longer home. Even if I went back now, it would just be different. It just like my friends wouldn't be around. Like it, it wouldn't be worth going back to. I'm in Michigan and I'm like, this doesn't feel like home yet. And I'm like, I don't know where I want to be. So like, it was just such like Linkin Park just ended up being such a great soundtrack to my life. And even beyond, because like by the time you get to Minutes to Midnight in 2007, it's like, all the political change and all the horrors that we had seen and things that we were living through. And I was just like, and Linkin Park was willing to speak on it. And it was just like, so it was definitely a band I felt like I got to grow up alongside. It really was exciting to me. Again, being a former band geek, it was just like this appreciation for music. I think the seeds were planted then, just like, Drado has an appreciation that kind of is somewhat born from, being a music artist and all that stuff too. Like, it's just, I think once you start playing around with music, even if it turns out to not be your thing, but even once you start playing around with music, I think you just appreciate the amount of passion and theory and thoughtfulness that goes into designing a song, designing a sound, like the mixing of it, the different instruments they chose and the instruments they chose not to use, all that stuff kind of makes you a little bit more open when somebody finally does, or someone or something finally does introduce you to a new sound that you weren't necessarily fucking with before. And so like Linkin Park, I think above and beyond are just amazing, amazing musicians all around. Yes. And like they had rock, they had rap, they have techno, Mr. Han, fuck yes, Mr. Han. Like they just, they weren't scared.
No,
they were so courageous, and like, maybe we won't fit in a neat little box and people will reject that, but we're going to do it anyway. And maybe they did have some nerves about it, but they were courageous in conquering that. So,
no, I definitely agree.
I guess where that leaves us now, with all the love that we have with them and the history we have with them, is back to this news, right? So like for those, at the top, like the thing is, obviously, for those who follow Linkin Park, what's up. Obviously their last album was in 2017.
Yes.
One More Light. And then obviously it was very heartbreaking because obviously Chester, the co-lead of the band, co-lead vocalist, he obviously took his own life, and anyone who cared about Linkin Park on any level was devastated, right? I don't know what it was for. I can't speak on what it was for the actual band members and the actual people who knew him, really. But just from a fan perspective, I can say that like it was definitely one of those other times when it felt like time stopped when I heard the news. Like the same thing happened when Michael Jackson passed, and then when I heard about Chester, I was just like, I didn't really know what to say about it, other than just how deeply sad I was. I know I listened to When My Time Comes, Leave Out All the Rest. Leave Out All the Rest. I listened to Leave Out All the Rest a lot that day, and it's so haunting because Chester's words are so personal and so beautiful in a lot of his songs. And I really do think, and though I haven't listened to it enough, I really do think there's a lot on One More Light that kind of, maybe, that was the one album that like he really did need us to listen to more. But he obviously he had passed, and that was, in my mind, that was the end of Linkin Park. Not the end in the sense that they still had a legacy. You still have all the music you can listen to. The band, the surviving band members are still around and still like, promoting stuff from the albums and celebrating milestones with us and everything. And it was, but yeah, it was just sort of a difficult thing to process. But in time, I started to heal, as you do. And I just started to appreciate, man, it was such a beautiful gift they gave us through all those years. And, it was a beautiful thing. And I always respected the fact that whenever it came up, whenever they would talk about it, like, people were like, so, are you going to do live shows, and are you going to do the hologram shit? And Mike Shoutout was real quick to just be like, no, that's creepy as fuck. We're not doing that.
Because they saw what they did with that Tupac hologram shit that they tried to pull off, and was like, no, don't ever do this again. This is no. And Tupac been gone for a while, and no, still no.
I don't know who thought that was going to be a good idea, but no. So I was so thankful about that. But it was cool that like they kept an open dialogue, especially Mike. Maybe it's just because he happens to be the one I follow, and like he had music that he was doing solo that he had been doing even before. Yeah. And he'd done Fort Minor, and he had done his solo stuff, and like so he was still pretty active online. So like he would he was very open with the community. He would do listening parties. He would do live streams. He would he would still be around for that. People kept trying to poke and like figure out like, so like on this stream, are you going to pick a new singer? And like it got to a point where it was, as people were kind of mad, disrespectful. They didn't maybe mean to be. They're excited fans, but he had to be like, y'all chill out. That's not what we're doing here today. And so I guess what I'm getting to is the fact that, well, I don't know what your feelings were, Drado. I think I'll just go ahead and say that my hopes at the time, post Chester, my hopes were just that like they would continue to celebrate, the legacy of Linkin Park. Maybe they'll continue to drop some new music. But I guess I was guessing or hoping, and again, I want to make very clear because I didn't say this at the start. This is in no way a commentary on like what they should or shouldn't do. Like that is a very personal thing. It is their band. We didn't help we didn't found that band. Like they founded the band. They put in the work. They did all this music together. They went on this journey together. They worked with Chester. That was their teammate and their friend. So anything they want to do is their prerogative, and I'm okay with it, and I actually am supportive. However, I'm just going to speak as like from a fan perspective. I guess I always hoped that like they would just kind of leave Linkin Park as it was. Like Linkin Park is not in the business of making new songs or necessarily anything like that. I guess what I kind of hope for is like if they wanted to go on tour, because I mean, there's it's still their band and stuff. They wanted to go on tour. I was hoping they maybe like do stuff like kind of like what they did with Reanimation, where they were like working with different artists. They had like guest vocalists and rappers on every track. So I thought like maybe if they wanted to go on tour, like, hey, lead singer of Sum 41's gonna sing this part of the set list with us. We got this so and so, and I understand that that's complicated. You got to work with different schedules. You got to work, with the money out. You got to work out like the timing of all of it. But I guess I kind of figured like maybe they do something like that. Maybe they get a dedicated set of artists that might go on the road with them who happen to be free, or maybe they would go work with different artists in different cities, do that sort of thing. And then when it came to the prospect of them making new music, I guess I had imagined the remaining members. I obviously support them still being artists. They're, it's their lives, and but I just guess I had hoped for them to maybe form a new band. Maybe Linkin Park ends here on the timeline and forever lives on, and in our memories and in our attachment to it. But like I thought, like maybe the remaining members would do something else as a new project. Kind of like I remember that time when Creed was big back in the 90s and like in early 2000s, and like I remember that time when like I guess lead singer Scott Stapp was going through a lot and was kind of acting up, and the rest of the band's like, all right, we're gonna go over here, and they formed Alter Bridge. And like Alter Bridge, if you listen to, I only listened to a little bit, I can't even name a song, but like if you listen to it, it sounds pretty similar to Creed, but they just acknowledge that it's just not the same band, because without Scott Stapp's voice and his whatever his creative input was, it's just like we're a different band now. And then eventually Creed, I think, got back together at some point. But like I guess I was kind of hoping for something in that vein, in the sense that like in my mind, in my heart, Linkin Park very much is not the founding members. And I'll be real with you, I'm not deep enough to be able to name all of them, but I will just say that like for me, the combination of Chester, Mike, and Mr. Hahn, me, that is like, those are like such essential ingredients for me to consider it Linkin Park. And I guess for me, that's those were my hopes. But now that we're here and they've chosen to do something different, they are continuing the band, and they have brought some new blood into it. I don't hate it. I think it actually sounds good. And I think that they chose another vocalist that no one sounds like Chester by any means, but like I get why they chose her. Like listening to her vocals, I'm like, yeah, like this definitely fits the essence. But just as a fan, I don't know if this is a journey I can go on with them. I wish them all the best in the world. And maybe I will just get like hooked on some catchy tracks or whatever, but I don't know. I'm still processing it, I guess. It's brand new. I'm not here to shout it down. I'm just here to say that, like, as a fan, when you have such a tight-knit group of people who found something and then see it through for several years, whenever you lose any members for any reasons, it's different. It's kind of like Boys to Men after was Mike left. It's just sort of like it's just Boys to Men like down one, right? Like it's like they still sound good, but like something's missing. I feel the same way about Fall Out Boy, who's obviously my favorite band. I'm like, there's really four of them, so like if they ever get to a point where one of them leaves, it's dicey. I also saw in concert Blink-182 during that time when Tom was not part of the band, and I was just like, there's nothing wrong with this. New guy sounds all right, and like they put on a good show, but I'm like, I felt like I didn't really see Blink in its fullness. So like I guess that's where I'm at mentally with it. But I wanted to check your temperature, Grado. How are you feeling? What are you thinking?
um, I guess I'll go back to I guess my how it affected me, the loss of Chester and everything. Initially during that time, um with One More Light being the album that they were touring, they actually did begin the tour even before Chester passing. It was one of those things where it affected me hard because I was actually planning, me and my girlfriend at the time. um
Mm.
we were planning to go see them in concert. I think they were supposed to come to Michigan, I want to say around August, September-ish. And we were saving up for it because concerts are expensive. And
Mm.
we we were happy to save up that money and go and buy our tickets. Once we did get the news, I was at work when I got the news that Chester did pass. And I heard they canceled the tour, the entire tour, and everything. Yeah, it felt like time stood still for a minute. I felt like this band that you know paved a way for me to be who I was at during that time. It hurt, honestly. It was one of those things where, yes, the music will always still be there. I can always go back and re-listen to it. I got all their either albums either on Spotify or at the time I did have CDs because I had a CD player in my
Mhm,
car.
mhm.
So it was one of those things where, yeah, I can always go back to the music, but it still felt like we took a big hit or a big loss that it just didn't feel the same. And obviously I was saving up to go see them in concert for the first time ever, and that happened, and it was like, damn, I felt that. I think I did cry when I found out that news. Similar, same thing happened with another artist who I was just getting into for the first time. Hadn't really grew up listening to him during the mid, I think, 2010s, 2011, 12, whenever he came out. Artist Mac Miller. Same thing happened
Mm.
where I had got into his discography. I was not familiar, but then a friend of mine who was into music, they put me on, and I was like, I really like this kid. He's really dope. Young guy too. Um,
Yeah.
uh, was supposed to see him in concert the year after 2018, and similar situation, was getting ready to go on tour, and right before the tour even started, we had purchased the tickets and everything. Me and my then girlfriend, who was not my wife now, we were planning on going, and got the news of that happening again. So that was like 2 years back to back where I experienced was supposed to be going to see somebody in concert, and then they took their life. And that was like one of the things that kind of stopped me from going to concerts for a minute. Like, this past
Sure.
year was the first time I had been in a concert in a long time. So it was one of those things where once I did get the news about Chester, I was hurt. My overall thought process was, we'll have these songs forever cemented, stamped, whatever. And if we ever hear anything else from them, I would assume it would be what they did: release stuff that was never released, the unreleased stuff, which they gave us a lot of unreleased material within these however many years they've been dropping stuff. Even with this 20th anniversary of Meteora, and even Paper Cuts that dropped this year, they gave us a lot of content, a lot of behind the scenes stuff, a lot of
Yes.
like raw, like recordings of what they worked on, and I loved listening to it. I had a
Same.
blast.
Same.
Um,
Also, shout out to them for always. I mean, obviously, I guess you couldn't, but like they always like kept Chester a part of it, right? Like
yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
he's still very heavily featuring those that footage and stuff. So
Yeah, no,
hmm.
it's really dope to hear and to witness all of that behind the scenes stuff. I always love, being someone that does like that also does music. I always have like um demos, or like even just I don't know, just sometimes when I'm recording, I like to have like just stuff recorded raw, not mixed, anything like that, just to have and go back and listen to, as a reference, reference tracks and all those things. Um, And that's the feeling I got from listening to the Linkin Park stuff. Was like, oh man, I remember those days of just having all this music just never released, no one ever heard. It's just for my ears and something that I can either go back to and either rework or redo or just have and just leave as is. Like I really loved that those years that they was dropping all those songs and unreleased material. And then once they started dropping once they did drop Paper Cuts, I was like, okay, to me this seems like this might be it, because that was like a collection of like all of their hits, and then of course some I think QWERTY was the single that dropped for that one. And I was assuming, my thoughts was that might be it. Like it seems like they've dropped everything that they could drop, unless there's some more hidden tucked away somewhere that I don't know about. Cool, I'm here for it. Drop that too. I'm here for it. But I wasn't under the impression that they were gonna do any new music. I honestly thought that they were going to just leave that as is and just drop unreleased stuff from then. So it was a surprise getting your text today about this new album. And then that was even before I found out that they had these new members of the band. I was just like, oh, they got a new album coming out, interesting, I wonder how that's going to sound, thinking they were going to do it without Chester and not replace him at all. And then when I did more research on it, I saw that they did their 7, according to you, 7-hour live show that they did on Instagram or social media yesterday. And they introduced the new members. It was a new drummer that they introduced, and then the co-lead lead vocalist for the band. Her name is Emily Armstrong. Is that right? Emily Armstrong.
Yeah, Armstrong.
Armstrong. Yeah. Again, just like you, I'm not familiar with her or her catalog or her discography, but I was honestly surprised. I probably shouldn't have been, because I've known bands to change, members. Queen has done it, with the passing of Freddie Mercury, rest in peace.
True.
Adam Lambert, took over his spot, and although no one passed away that I know of from Black Eyed Peas, they've changed their singer a couple times. So I probably shouldn't have been shocked, but I think I was shocked because I had that exact same feeling of and again, I'm with Phil on this one. I'm not gonna say what they should have or should not have done. That's not for me to say. I can say what I would have liked or what I would have thought would have happened, but I would have assumed that they would have either just left Linkin Park as is and did something new, like you had said, similar to how New Edition did their thing when they had Belle Biv DeVoe. They had those members come out of that and they do their own thing, which they had hits, as those cats. And then obviously you had people that went solo and did their own thing, which Mike has done solo stuff without members of Linkin Park and etc. So I was thinking there was going to go along the lines of doing something like that. So when I got that news or I saw that, I was honestly a little shocked. I can't say if it was a good or bad decision, right or wrong decision. That's not for me to say. Again, they made the choice. I do understand that from my knowledge and recollection, they did have a member leave the band back. I think it was it's right after Chester passed away. I think it was the drummer that got replaced. I think it was Rob. Rob left the band. I did know, but I did not know that he was going to be replaced. So I did know that information. But to have someone come in as a replacement for Chester was the news that kind of hit me hard. And then I actually I'm not going to get into their single yet that they dropped, but I was actually looking to see who she was. I was trying to look up as much information as I could, but again, looking her up, I did not know. Maybe it was a fit for them. Maybe they were all in obviously they were in agreement with it because they have a whole album coming out. So, that's fine. But I did listen to a song that they did at the thing yesterday, the concert live stream.
Yeah.
They did Numb. And
yeah, I heard that too.
And it I wasn't angry per se, but I was a little let me see, what was the feeling? Because this was literally just today. How was I feeling? I was feeling I think I was a little sad, honestly. I think I was a little hurt.
I was gonna say hurt. Yeah.
I was a little hurt. It was like, because as you did text me, me and the wife were eating dinner talking about it. We were like, I literally told her, I was like, man, I really hope that, you know, they don't try to replace Chester with her voice on older songs. Like, I literally said that. I was like, I hope they only do new music and just only, you know, since they have an album coming out, I hopefully, you know, just do new music. So that way, obviously they have a tour that they also announced yesterday as well that they're planning on doing. So maybe they're just going to tour that project. Maybe they're going to do some snippets of some songs before it comes out, because I think it drops in November. And I heard Numb, and I was hurt. I was really hurt. It's not that she's a bad singer. I want to point that out. She's very talented. She has a great voice. I said this to my wife earlier today. I don't think her voice to me personally, this is my opinion, y'all. This isn't Phil's opinion. This is mine. So I don't want y'all to put words in Phil's mouth. This is all Drado. I didn't like her voice. I didn't like for the band. Right. I didn't like her voice on Numb. I don't think that her voice works with the band from what I've heard. And again, we'll talk about the single that they dropped, later on. But I personally don't think her voice works for that, and that's only because they have a certain aesthetic to their band that I'm used to, and regardless of Chester, it was a certain aesthetic that her voice, to me, she has a very hoarse voice where it's like. If when she was doing Numb, she couldn't hit certain pockets of the instrumental or the beat of that song that Chester did. And again, she doesn't have to sound or, you know, sing just like Chester. I wouldn't say Chester was the greatest vocally, but he still you felt when he would sing, you felt his emotion on the track. You felt what he was saying when he would hit those certain, you know, melodies or that certain tempo that he was trying to get on a song. Whereas,
I was just gonna say real quick,
go ahead.
Look up, you know, Chester vocals with the music removed, and you'll just be like, it's stunning how much I undervalued how great his voice was. But yeah, he does a very specific thing, but like, it's just like when you hear just like his vocals raw, you're like, oh shit, I didn't know he was doing all that. And yeah, I agree. I feel like she's not, again, she doesn't have to be a clone, but she's not doing that. Right.
And that's fine. Because comparing what they did with Numb to the single that they dropped, I you know, there's a huge difference. There's her voice fits for a different type of song, just not Numb. So that's when I was listening to Numb, I was like, nah, this sounds very karaoke to me. This feels like this shouldn't be done. And I literally said this, I was like, I really hope they don't have her redo other songs. And I don't know if that's what they did the whole live show, is have her do, you know, their old cuts with her replacing Chester's vocals. I'm not going to go back and listen to it because it's only going to make me mad. But I feel like they should have went the route of doing what they did, which is they created new music. Obviously, they have this new album coming out, and I agree with you. I would have loved for them to create something new under a different name. Linkin Park is a staple. It's you know, it's a movement, so to speak. It's like they created something that is cemented in history. Like I would have loved for that to just be that, and if they did get new members or replacements or whatever, create something new from that, and you know, it would have been nice to, you know, have them under a different name. But I will say, I'm personally not a fan of what she's shown for Lincoln, for this group,
Right.
personally. But yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at currently. I guess if you want, we could talk. Did you listen to the single, yeah,
Emptiness Machine.
we could talk. We
I
could talk
did.
about it.
So yeah, so like Drado, I saw, I think it was on YouTube. I caught a clip of her performing Numb, and it like Drado said, yeah, it hurt my feelings. I was just like, it, and I wanna double down on what Drado's talking about. Like, look, I'm not here to dogpile on Emily Armstrong. Like,
Yeah.
she's done nothing wrong.
No.
She's been offered the opportunity of a lifetime to work with extremely talented musicians in a well-known band. And, who am I to say, like, whether she should or shouldn't take that on? Like, she's going for it. And, like, I think that she, like, listening to her vocals, this is where Drado and I diverge. I do get why they picked her, because it's like she forces the audience to embrace something different, right? Because, like, I think at least I hope, I think they were intuitive enough to understand that, like, you weren't going to replace Chester, right? Like, vocally. They knew that they weren't, like, if they got like a sound alike, it really, really, really then would be karaoke. So they're like, all right. Like, for example, y'all, like, this was before any of this was announced. I think this was like earlier this year. I was listening to live performances. Like, I kind of went down this rabbit hole. I was listening to, like, Jack White, who, is a solo artist now. I listened to him perform Seven Nation Army, which he did with Meg as part of the White Stripes. And he did that live, and it was fucking dope. But, like, it led me to this video. It led me to this video of, I guess, Sum 41 was on tour, and I guess they brought Mike Shinoda out for a segment, and they did a Linkin Park song. And I listened to it. I forget which song it was, but I listened to it, and I remember thinking, wow, the lead singer of Sum 41, I would have never put this together before, but, like, as a stand-in for Chester, as somebody who can, like, carry a similar vibe without being the dude, like, it was a good fit. It sounded good. Like, the song they performed together, I was like, I'm not gonna be disrespectful and say this is Linkin Park now, but I'm just gonna say that, like, as an homage, as a way to honor Linkin Park and honor Chester, it was a beautiful tribute. And I was like, this is fucking dope. But with what they're doing now, with having a brand new member, and she is stepping to that plate, and she is carrying that mantle, even though she's a different person. It's just difficult because, like, no matter what you do, she's the person after Chester. There's no way to get around it. There's no way to like sugarcoat it. Like, everyone will compare her as we're well within their rights to. We are like I know in my heart they don't think that they can replace Chester. At least I hope. I hope in my heart they know that they can't, like, replace Chester. Chester's one of one. But I think they're like, but we do want a new co-lead or whatever, and we're going to find someone. But I'm just like, even doing that much, it's just like everyone else in the world is probably going to look at this and be like, that's not Chester. What the fuck are you doing? So I can't help but have a little bit of that in me. Again, I'm not presumptuous enough to say, like, what's for them to do. But like, I do, as a fan, I can speak on what I feel. And what I feel is hearing somebody else in a permanent way, in an ongoing way, take Chester's position and go back and sing his parts for the songs. It's a totally different thing than having, like, a guest artist and doing a tribute special, like doing a tribute album and having a bunch of different guest vocalists rotate in. That's just a different thing, because they're not trying to fill the void. They're just like, hey, let's celebrate this. But this is supposed to be like Linkin Park 2.0, and I can't vibe. I can't vibe with it.
I don't even
at
like
this
the
point
sound
in
of it.
No,
2.0,
right?
I don't even like that. I don't even like that. And it's one of those things where it does feel bad. And it's also one of those things where I get it. they need to they gotta eat, they gotta make money, this is their job, this is their profession, this is their life. Like I understand they have all these members of this band that probably some of them can't do the solo thing like Mike probably could. Like they need to be able to, maybe they don't have any other opportunity. So I get, you know, keeping Linkin Park around, you know, having everybody still be there who wants to be there, and still being okay with those, you know, members who aren't okay with that leaving, which is what they had the drummer do. Because I just read that he left because they were, you know, trying to replace, you know, Chester, or they were trying to replace Chester, so one of the drummers left. I
don't blame
which is understandable. So I definitely understand. Linkin Park has come a long way from back in the day where they were even trying to just get onto a label and just get signed, where they were pretty much shunned from the, you know, from the industry, from what I remember, you know, because people weren't, it was like the early or the late 90s where people weren't gravitating to that. And then, you know, shout out to Warner for, you know, putting that, you know, the opportunity in front of them and taking a chance on them for them to drop Hybrid Theory and get their name out there and show the world, hey, this is what we do and this is why we do it. And you could just feel that love, that passion they have for music, and even going off to do, you know, solo stuff or other stuff with other artists. Like I truly am glad I went back and listened to a lot of Mike's, you know, other stuff before his own solo stuff, because I hadn't listened to any of that, so all of that was like new for me, and this was recent. This was like maybe 2 years ago, and it was really dope getting into, you know, that world of hearing new music after, you know, Chester's death, for me in my ears. So now that we're in this era of a new Linkin Park, I'm not saying 2.0, it's a little scary, because it's like I don't know what they're planning on doing. I after this, I did see the tour, I did see the dates. They only have 6 dates. I'm assuming this is like somewhat of a trial run to see how the audience will navigate and gauge this new Linkin Park that we're getting with these new members.
Right.
They're starting off in LA and then New York, and then they're going overseas to Germany, UK, South Korea, and then ending in where was it? It was I forget, but they're doing six dates from September to into October. So all before the album actually drops, because the album drops in November. So it's interesting. As much as I would love to hear some Linkin Park or see them live, I'm not gonna go see them.
No.
They'll be in Cali, I think, next week. Honestly, Phil, I think next weekend they'll be in LA.
Man, no, that, like, I mean, going back to what it was like, knowing that I would never see them live. That was like, that was one of the other like heartbreaks of, I mean, you already had tickets and stuff, but like just whenever we lose an artist that I really feel deeply connected to or admire, that is one of the first haunting thoughts. If I have not seen them, I'm like, I will never see them. Like, you know, when MJ passed, I was like, realistically, I could just never afford an MJ concert, but still, like, just knowing that it's off the table completely, like it's like physically has been removed from the board, the realm of possibility. And then like same thing with Chester. Like, I don't know why I didn't like hustle to see Linkin Park sooner in my life. I did, you know, I was kind of slow to start going to concerts. But, you know, I had seen Three Doors Down. I had seen Foo Fighters. I had seen, you know, some other bands and Green Day and whatever. And, like, I just hadn't gotten around to Linkin Park yet. And just, like, that haunting feeling of, like, well, now I never will. And now there's this. And I'm just, like, I've had enough experience to know that this is not going to fill that void for me. This is something else. Just like I said with like Blink 182, which I'm glad that the original members were able to get back together after the fact, and they're cool now, and they're making a new album. So like shout out to them. But you know, like I'm now in the era where I get a sense of what it was like to be like maybe a fan of Van Halen or something, where it's just like there's this iconic, band, and then like an iconic member leaves, which is wild with Van Halen because it was literally Eddie Van Halen that like left or got replaced, and I'm just like, that's crazy. But all that to say, like I because I care about what they brought to my life so much, and I admire them so much. I'm not out here wanting them to fail. I'm just being honest in the sense that like it's the fucking Star Wars meme. You've gone down a path where I cannot follow Anakin. Like it's just sort of this. Not to say that they've gone to the dark side, but I'm just saying like they're doing something now that like isn't really for me. And it doesn't have to be. And I hope it turns out well for them, whether they're successful or whether they just learn from it and go, all right, this is what we're going to do now that experiment is done, or whatever happens. I hope all of them, including the new members, land on their feet and get something good out of this. And if healing is even a part of this equation, I hope that happens too. If it hasn't already. So like, but yeah, you were trying to transition us into the new single, and
we could talk on it. The Emptiness Machine. I listened to it twice today. Once during dinner and then once before we started the pod. Just trying to see how I felt about it. Me and the wife listened to it together. For those who don't know, she's also a Linkin Park fan.
Shout out to Dredo Queen.
Yeah, absolutely. So overall, the song is fine. It's not a bad song, personally. It's not a song that I would probably play and put in my rotation. It for me in the beginning of the song, like the first half, there's a moment in the first half of the song that feels like something's missing. It felt like an emptiness in the track as I was listening to it the second time. Because I felt like I felt that way the first time I listened to it. Then the second time I was like, yeah, there's something definitely missing. And then the second half of the song where we do get, the Emily comes in, she starts singing. They change that the beat up, or the tempo changes, and they bring in that Linkin Park sound that I'm used to. They put that into it. And I think that's what it was that was missing from the first half of the song. But the second half I did enjoy. It just wasn't a song that I'll like replay or put in rotation. It's an okay song. It's light. It's not as strong or as heavy as like other Linkin Park songs. But again, those songs were with Chester. So
yeah.
This song being with these new members and the whole album coming, I'm gonna have to assume that it's going to be different. And I am going to listen to it. I am going to check it out just to see. I most definitely will not see them live, but I will listen to the album just to see what it is that they've cooked up, that they've decided to do. That was my overall thoughts of the song. The first half I didn't like. The second half I liked when they started amping up with a certain sound, and it gave it a little bit more oomph to it. And that was my thoughts on it.
Yeah, and let us know, y'all. Anyone who catches this pod, let us know if you would like us to come back and give us more thoughts. Give more thoughts on like the full album when it drops. Like if y'all would like us to speak on that, be sure to let us know. What was interesting about it for me is that, and maybe just even the way you described it, maybe that was intentional. Maybe that was a targeted way of like getting you to embrace Emily, right? Because they gave her the more Linkin Park traditional part of the song. What I thought, the first thing I thought of was like, oh, interesting. Like they're leading with Mike vocals, and it's not like a rap. It's because Mike sings too. If you listen to his solo stuff, right? And I think he does some backing vocals even for Linkin Park. So like, it sounded very much like a Mike Shinoda vibe. And my first thought was like, this seems like exactly what Linkin Park would do were Chester still here, because they were very cognizant of like, we can't keep the exact same formula every album. Like they were like, even when you start to listen to like Minutes to Midnight, they're very specific about like, usually, they had kind of like a, Chester sings, and then like maybe Mike raps the hook, or Mike raps and then Chester sings the hook. Like it was a very tag team approach. And then once you start getting into Minutes to Midnight, they're starting to do like whole songs that are Chester heavy with like kind of faint hints of Mike in the background, and vice versa. Like you listen to like Hands Held High, it's just Mike spitting, and then like at the end it's kind of like, I mean, in the chorus and at the end, you're getting like Chester vocals, and they did that on purpose. They're like, we can't just keep doing the same shit. So I'm like, I think this sounds like a Linkin Park song to me, and it sounds like that what they would do to move forward. However, it would hit different if Chester were still here, because then it'd be like, I'd be really excited about the beginning, because I'd be like, oh shit, they're letting Mike sing the beginning. This is fucking sick. And then Chester comes in, and then I'm like, fucking let's go. But because it's like because I have to embrace a new vocalist, it just feels like this feels like it's part of Mike Shinoda joint, and then like it is a Linkin Park song, but it's not Linkin Park, because it's not, it's this mental gymnastics I have to do to try and embrace the song for what it is. But it's just like, I think because it's one thing for them as the whole cohesive unit to change their vibe, but to change their vibe to accommodate the fact that like they're pretty much a new band now, that hits different. It's not as fun. Different. It's not as enjoyable. But like when I listen to it, I can respect the fact that like, well, yeah, this sounds like something Linkin Park would do. It just, it's like you said, it's missing that oomph, because Chester brought a lot to the table. The not even just the sound of his vocals, but the emotional content of his vocals, like lyrics that he, added in and stuff, like delivery, knowing when to hang back and when to take the lead, all that stuff. Like, it's just too. Maybe I'm just too old, and it's just too late in the game for me to embrace.
And also, this is our first time actually listening to her. Like this is literally our first introduction to her being in this band, doing music with them. So who knows? Maybe they got some songs on the album that are like fire, and she's killing it, and maybe
right.
But we can only go off of this first initial song. So until then,
exactly. This is all just off the cuff and fresh. Guys, we're reacting in real time, just like everyone else is. This is really earth-shaking news.
It's crazy,
and I feel like however you are processing it, like it's all valid as long as you're doing so with respect. Let's not come after anybody. I just have a bad feeling that I haven't looked, that Emily who I believe identifies as female, Emily, I assume so. just being a female and taking a man's popular spot, a man who has passed away. I feel like the amount of hate she is about to get, that's completely unwarranted, is about to be off the charts. Maybe the world will surprise me and do better, but I just see it going down that
way. Man, I've seen how they act towards these female leads in Marvel films. Like man.
Right. And even like on that tip, even when you are the second person in line for like, even if you are the same gender, it's rough. George Lazenby caught all the hell for being the second James Bond. We got years of Sean Connery holding it down, and then George Lazenby was on My Majesty's Secret Service, and he in my opinion, I've seen the movie. In my opinion, he does a good job, but like everybody's like, boo, he's not Bond. And then, after Lazenby, we got, Dalton and the other guys, like, and people were like, okay, this is just what we're doing now. Every Bond's different. People grew to like some of the other Bonds, but being the first one, that's the same reason I did not want anyone to replace Chadwick Boseman, because I'm like, that dude is gonna catch all the fucking hell.
That's also interesting, and honestly a good comparison, because you have someone like Chadwick who they made it known in public that they were not going to replace him for anything, and there were fans that were okay with that decision, but there were also fans that weren't. They wanted to see Black Panther on screen again, and the fact that they did that, made that decision, they were upset. Like I saw the comments. I saw like the people talking about how upset they were that they won't replace Black Panther, and that he could be replaced. But I get both sides. I'm not one to say if if they should replace or not. That's not for me to say. I will say I do understand that everything that they created over in the MCU, it was a family over there, and they created these bonds. These actors created these bonds that a lot of people don't get a chance to do. When they're filming, something together. Sometimes you'll film something that is probably isn't going to have a sequel, and then you're off to the next job. You probably may or may not see this actor ever again. But with the MCU, they've done all these collaborations, characters featuring on other characters' movies or shows or whatever the case may be, and they built a real strong family over there. I remember seeing the behind the scenes of Endgame and just seeing how everybody was on set, and just the camaraderie, the everybody just friendly, like all these A-list, B-list, C-list actors just all together, just getting along and being a thing. So I understand that side of them not wanting to replace that character for I get it. And then I also get the comic book fans who want to see the great T'Challa material that the T'Challa is in. I mean, they've been doing a lot of T'Chaka stuff with his father being in like the animated What If show. They did that. They also I think got that new game coming out with it's T'Chaka and Captain
T'Chaka as well. Yep.
Captain America. So yeah, I get both sides, but with this whole change with Linkin Park, it is a little different. Like you mentioned, people aren't they aren't nice. They aren't nice when it comes to the women. I don't know what it is. I don't know why, when they literally rule the world, but okay. You wouldn't be here if it wasn't for women, but all right. But it's one of those things where I hope she doesn't, but it's unfortunate that we live in this country where we had Trump as president, so
like people are just the toxic masculinity and the patriarchy are very much alive and well, and be a female doing anything important and you're taking shots immediately. Be a female just trying to live your life and not bother anyone, you're taking shots immediately. Like it's just the climate we live in. The Marvels was the most downvoted trailer on YouTube when it came out.
Insane.
It's like nobody, you haven't seen the movie yet. Calm down.
Right.
It was just wild. But like going back to my other, again, replacing Bond, replacing Black Panther, which in my opinion, I just really respect what they did, because it's just like I think in the long run, people are just fucking patient. We will get another T'Challa someday, but for right now, in the MCU specifically, I think it's just, even though time's passed and it's not as fresh of a wound, it's still a pretty big wound, and and I think it's just too close together for us to like give a new person a proper chance. It doesn't feel honest. To the personal way that they make those movies, especially for Ryan Coogler, who had to, carry on, and like all those cast members who had to carry on when they know this whole thing is what it is because of what Chadwick brought to that role. Like It's just complicated. That's why I don't really try to get into like what they should or shouldn't do. I can only ever speak to like how I feel as a fan. Yeah, because like you try being in that seat,
and then
you think you know
exactly. They had the rebuttal too, the fans, where they were like, "Well, they did that. Well, they replaced Harrison Ford's is now the the character
Thunderbolt
now, and
Ross,
Thunderbolt Ross now, and if they could do that, they could do that. They could do that with Black Panther." I'm like,
right. It's not like just.
It's a little different.
Yeah,
it's I don't know.
It's just, but people don't think about that. Look, I think we'll get more T'Challa someday. It's just not right now. And
like
just,
Black
be
Panther
patient.
can always come back.
Yeah.
It's not Black Panther has been around. They've used the name Black Panther for many years, if not centuries. I don't know how long Black Panther's actually been around, but his name will always be there. We'll see another one, and if you've seen Wakanda Forever, you'll get more information on that. But
right,
he can come. Black Panther can come back, and it may not be Chadwick's T'Challa, but T'Challa can also come back. And especially with this multiverse stuff we have going on, anything's possible. So just be patient, y'all. Be patient. Wait.
Like this just happened. Like let them grieve, let them figure things out. Man. And give new people a chance. And so like, I mean, spoilers in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you've seen Wakanda Forever, we've got Shuri now, and like and the reaction has been very much what I anticipated. There's a lot of positivity too, but like it's very much like we don't want like chick Black Panther. Like, we want this. Black Panther was the strong male character. Now you got this woman in there because it's the MCU. And I'm like, yo,
that's crazy.
There's precedence for this in the fucking comics. Calm your shit down.
Crazy.
And also just logistically, she's his sibling. Like they're both royalty and she is legitimately next in line to do just shut the fuck up. But I just know for a fact we would need a real like what if timeline in real life to prove it. But like I know for a fact if they had brought in so and so to be T'Challa, the hate mail that dude would.
Oh, absolutely.
Right, because we saw what happened in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Like fucking Steve Rogers passes the shield to fucking like Sam. Sam goes, I'm not sure if I want this. And then who comes in? Wyatt Russell plays John, whatever his last name, who's U.S. agent in the comics. He becomes Captain America at the end of the first episode, he becomes Captain America. He doesn't have dialogue. He just waves. And people are like,
so much hate.
Like, and not just the character, the actor. They sent hate mail to Wyatt and to Marvel saying, get this man out that suit. Take that shield away from him. He is not my Captain America. And I'm like, and he's white. He's a good looking white dude. So I'm just like, look. And again, I thought that was brilliant on Marvel's part because what did that do? Wyatt takes the heat, and then when Sam actually takes the shield, people kind of calm their shit down. Yeah. Because now it's like there's been a buffer in between Steve and the next guy. So like people have trouble when the next person's up to the plate. It's hard. I get why it's hard to embrace change. I get how somebody might feel betrayed in some way, but I don't think that's ever the intention. And I think it's okay to honor your own feelings about it, but try to keep some perspective and look outside of what you want and how you feel and what your experience is, and try to remember these are real people with real lives. If not putting this out in the universe, but if we lost Drado tomorrow, like you don't get to say what we do if hard mode selected, right? Like, because Drado's my friend. Don't come at me with what you want me to do. Fuck you. So, like, that's a very personal thing, and that's why I really wanted to make sure throughout this video we spoke on that. Like, we have our feelings. We're honoring our feelings. We're mourning. Absolutely. We're trying to adjust, but like, there's no reason to be toxic about it.
And that's the same thing with Linkin Park and all these changes they made, man. It's just literally the same thing. Respect, the fact that they've had to grieve, they've had to deal with the loss of Chester, and now they're dealing with uh, I don't want to assume, but it seems like they're on a path now where they're ready to move forward and continue this journey with new members. So I'm hoping these two new members, I'm hoping that they do gain fans. I'm rooting for them. I'm hoping that they can be successful with this. And if they aren't, and if it then it was they tried. They attempted something and it just didn't work, and that's fine too.
Yeah.
Yeah, just people, like, I understand people's passion. They can get a little bit extra, but just like you said, Phil, just they're real people with real lives too. So yeah, respect.
All
That's
that.
all it needs. Now I am curious.
Absolutely.
I'm curious on the title of their album, From Zero.
Yes.
It's interesting because for those that do not know, that was Linkin Park's original name, Zero, with an X. So I'm curious to know if that's like a play on words with that, but instead From Zero means from the beginning of this Linkin Park, and maybe they trying to like incorporate that with playing off of the original name. I'm curious about that. I wonder if they'll talk about that or not. But that was the first thing that came to mind.
No, shout out to you for pointing that out. Yeah, I definitely had been thinking about that too. I actually just found that out today. Like, I knew they played around with being called Hybrid Theory, and that became their first album title. But I didn't know their original name was Zero with an X until like I started looking shit up today, and I was like, oh, well, that's really that's a cool deep cut, and I think that's a cool nod to. They've always been pretty good about like kind of giving the fans breadcrumbs to like what they're trying to accomplish now.
Yes.
I tell the story all the time about like, what I've done being about them changing their sound, right? Like the lyrics kind of paint a picture of like, this is our metamorphosis. This is us not leaning on our past successes and wiping the slate clean and doing something new vocal, like sound wise. And so they've always had that kind of fun about them and that sense of honesty about them and transparency. So From Zero, I really have the same questions. I'm really curious to see if like, and it also feels like because like I know with Mike's stuff post Linkin Park, post Chester, there was he didn't hide from that either, right? Like if you listen to A Place to Start, like just that title alone is very indicative of like how do you move on after something like that has happened, and a lot of the lyrics go into that, and then the song literally ends with phone calls of people checking on him, as he's grieving the loss, just a bunch of tape messages of like, hey, just hope you're all right, just wanted to check on you. Like, so they've always been so raw and honest about that shit. So I wonder if like, From Zero is them really saying like, we have to start over. Like we have to like kind of claw our way up from the bottom again, in the sense of like, we don't know what's going to happen when we start this new journey. And they're willing to put in that work, and they're willing to try. And I think that's admirable and fucking cool. So yeah, I'm really curious to see what From Zero has to hold for us, and what the tone of it is, what type of things they speak on, which brings me to, I wanted to get into the lyrics a little bit. Because the song is also, their lyrics are important. And I feel like, just the lyrics from this new single, even the title, the emptiness machine sounds like a Linkin Park title. So shout out to them for that. The lyrics, I feel like it did sound very very Linkin Park in its lyrical structure. Maybe it really does feel like kind of like it revolves around fractured relationships, somebody trying to put you down, you having enough of that shit. That this is all stuff that they've definitely talked about before. And just I think it's a little bit haunting in the sense that like the nature of like the emptiness machine, and even Drado used the word emptiness to describe how the first part of the song sounds. I feel like they may actually be, again, embracing the fact that like, yeah, we all know there's a void. Yeah. We're not going to pretend there isn't one. And so I respect the hell out of that, regardless of how I feel about like, you know, the sound overall.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah. No, I just pulled up the lyrics. I hadn't read them. But there was a part in here that I was just reading where Mike says, your blades are sharpened with precision, flashing your favorite point of view. I know you're waiting in the distance, just like you always do. Which, again, like you said, that's very Linkin Park-esque. Just that alone, from the blades sharpened with precision, flashing your favorite point of view could mean so many different things. And waiting in the distance could relate to so many different different things as well. But it was just interesting reading these lyrics. Let you cut me open just to watch me bleed. Gave up who I am for who you wanted me to be. Don't know why I'm hoping for what I won't receive. Falling for the promise of the emptiness machine. There's some great lyrics. Like I can't be mad at it.
No, they still got that shit going for them. It's very, very poignant, very haunting, very personal as they usually are. And again, that gave up who I am for who you wanted me to be. I mean, that takes me back to like lying from you off of I think that's Meteora. Like, you know, that whole idea of like, I just became something that I thought you would like. And now that's fucking me up, you know, like, and I just really do think that that's like they still have a lot of the essence of what Linkin Park is and is about. But you know, a thing could be more than the sum of its parts, and yeah, I think that sometimes they might have all the right ingredients, but you know, who knows how it's gonna land, how it's gonna hit, how it's gonna feel. Yeah. Again, everyone, this is just the first single. We listened to it a couple times. Yes. We have no idea what the rest of the album sounds like, and we don't know what their intention is moving forward. So just want to make sure. So yeah, we talked about the name, we talked about the lyrics, and yeah, I guess
just overall thoughts. I don't know. I think getting that, because we all found out all of this in real time with each other. Like, obviously people who were already savvy of this information yesterday found out yesterday, but I just caught wind of this today. I was not clearly on social media or internet. I guess I do follow Linkin Park on Instagram, but maybe I just wasn't scrolling. But no, just finding out all this information. They provided a lot, from dropping a single, doing the 5-hour, 7-hour show they did yesterday, announcing the tour, announcing that they have 2 new members. All this information in one day is a lot to process. So, yes. Right now, honestly, I'm still processing. I ain't even gonna lie to you. I'm still like in awe. Like, wow, they really got a new singer. Okay.
I just, something I just was never in my thought process. I just didn't think it would ever be on the table. But going back to what you said about like the drummer leaving and his reasoning for that, it's very apparent to me that this is, which is not surprising, because they usually have their shit together. This is very evident to me that like this is something they thought about and have been planning and working towards for a long time, much longer than like before they released the information to us. It sounds like, I mean, for all I know, back when I watched that live stream a year or so or 2 ago or whatever, when Mike was saying we're not picking a new singer on this stream, that's not what we're doing. Wow. They may have already made the decision that we are looking, but like we're not talking about it yet. Like, you know, like who knows how long this has been in the oven.
They definitely would have had, because I mean, track was 10 to 11 tracks on this album, so they clearly had to spend some time together. I would think to, you know, make sure they meshed vocally and had those practices. And I was also curious creatively. I was also curious if I wonder, was this someone that that they chose, or did they do an audition? Did they have other people audition for a spot, or is this someone they knew that they like? I'm curious about that part of it.
Very interested in the story. Yeah, the story behind Linkin Park is always just so fascinating. They do things in such an interesting way, and they're such talented and savvy individuals. So all I could, regardless of how I feel about like what she sounds like singing the old stuff, which I'm still jarring for me, but regardless of that, I know that they didn't pick her randomly out of a hat, right? Like they had to have they had to have felt something about it, or had like thought was put into this people. I mean, I wasn't there. I don't fucking actually know, but like I have to believe that they care about this enough, because they clearly care. The stuff they've been releasing, the unreleased tracks, the special edition albums, all that stuff, like they care about what Linkin Park is and what Linkin Park means to people. So I'm with Drado. I think they took their time to find who they believed wholeheartedly is the right person. And there's always that unknowable part. Will it pay off? And we all just put our best foot forward and deal with what happens. So
yeah, it's gonna be interesting. But again, I'm gonna check out the album. I'm gonna see what their sound is gonna be. Yeah, I'm rooting for them. I am curious, because I wasn't paying attention to the audience when I heard that Numb song from yesterday.
Yeah, right.
I'm curious to know how, because it looked like they were in front of a audience from what I gathered. I wonder, first and foremost, I didn't hear anything about that, so I wonder how they even announced that without me knowing that was happening. I don't know where I was at, but
might have been like one of those like small shows, like maybe they did it in Los Angeles or something. Like, because sometimes artists will do that. They'll have like you would almost have to, I don't know, you have to know someone to like know that this thing's going down. But,
yeah. And then I was curious. I wonder how the audience took, or how they felt and reacted to getting like this new band member and hearing her do these songs. I'm curious. I am curious. I might look at some footage just to see if I can catch some audience members. I do that sometimes because and me and my wife, we talk about this. We talk about people who throw these great ass concerts or doing these great sets on tour, and the audience just looks deadpan out there. They're just like sitting there, and the artist is performing their ass off, and they're barely getting any type of reaction from the audience. And I've been to a concert or two where me and my wife, we were like up clapping or whatever, and everybody else just sitting down, being cool. They got their drink or whatever, or they with they partner, or they just not engaging. And I'm like, oh well, I'm having a great time.
Right, like I paid this money to come here and fucking rage. I came here to fucking vibe and like fucking lose it.
Concerts are not cheap, especially for like the good seats. Like, I've never done floor seats before because I know I'm a short guy, and if I'm behind tall people, I'm gonna be pissed that I can't see. Normally they have stages that are leveled up, and they kind of have the seats kind of leveled so that way people all can see. But I don't even want to be put in that situation. So I've always gotten seats that are like relatively close. Like, I would never spend like $300 plus for a concert, maybe two something if it's like a good seat. But yeah, I recently just went to go see Missy Elliott
I ask you about
concert, and in the beginning when Timbaland came out, he was first.
Ooh, okay.
They had nobody in the theater, in the where were we at? Little Caesars Palace. Nobody was there. me and the wife was like looking at the time, like, huh, like I know people aren't on time to things, but it's relatively empty in here. Like it was like I was surprised that they started on time. Like they actually started the concert on time. Timbaland came out on time exactly at 7 o'clock and performed. Towards the end of his set, that's when it started to get crowded and people started to come in. But it sucks, you know, being one Timbaland who's like this mogul in the you know the music game, and then having people like, because you know when you're coming in, you're chatting, you got your drinks, you're looking for your seat, so no one's really paying attention to what's happening because it's dark and you can't see, and it's just so much going on. But no, I pay attention to that type of stuff. Just out of curiosity. That's all it is.
I'm shocked to hear that. Like, was Timbaland out by himself?
Yes,
like,
it was him and him alone.
Him and him
by
alone.
himself.
Okay. I'm not sure if I've heard his solo stuff before. I always hear him producing or on a track, or you know.
And that's the thing. He did some of his own stuff. Rest in peace, Mr. Magoo. He did stuff for Mr. Magoo, but he did a lot of his own stuff. He did the Way I Are song. He did obviously the Justin Timberlake hits. He's done the yeah, he did all of his hits.
That makes
basically.
sense. That makes sense. Like, yeah, when I think of Timbaland, I think of Timbaland or someone and Timbaland. You know, like
basically, if his voice was on the song, or if he was on a hook, you know, singing with Justin, or if he was like did a part on a song or whatever, he performed that song. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. just for my own curiosity, any Aaliyah?
Yes.
Did he go
absolutely.
into the Aaliyah era?
Absolutely.
Oh,
he definitely played quite a few Aaliyah. He had a screen in the background that had images of Aaliyah as they were playing the song, and he actually sang together with the people in the audience. We sang
cool.
a couple of Aaliyah songs with him. So yeah, that was really fire that he did that. And obviously, it being Detroit, it made sense, you know.
Yeah.
For those that do not know, Aaliyah is from Detroit, so yeah.
I actually did not know that.
Yes, she's Detroit native. Yeah.
That's what's up.
So that was really dope to witness. And you felt the love in the room with everybody singing, Aaliyah hits and stuff. So yeah, that was really cool. It was really cool.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Try Again stays in my head rent free.
It's a great song. But yeah, I was just curious about how people's reactions was yesterday at the live event. I might just see. I'm scared because I know I'm probably gonna hear another song that she probably hopped on, and I don't want to do that to myself. But yeah, I was just curious. That's all it was.
For sure, yeah, no, for sure. But no, it's hard out there for artists, and like it can be. I'm always. For someone like Timbaland, though, I'll be real with you. I'm embarrassed on behalf of the state of Michigan that like he was not properly supported from the start, because I'm like, it's Timbaland, y'all.
Yeah.
I'm just like I would just to feel like he's out there performing to like a half empty crowd or whatever. I'm just like.
And it made sense. It made sense for them to start on time because all those artists are not young anymore. They're all like 40, 50 plus. So it made sense that they were trying to like, we have a set time. Let's do our set time. We got to be out of here at a set time. So, let's if we out here for 30 minutes to an hour, and it's four people performing. Timbaland, Busta, Sierra, Missy, like 4 people. So they had to like make sure they did their set and was off stage at a certain time. So
shout out to them. Shout out to them. That's such a dope lineup. I was so excited when they announced this. I was in no position to go see it, but like I was just like, this is that's just such a great synergy in that lineup.
Yeah,
like those artists belong together. And I was very excited. Anytime Missy or Busta do anything, I'm excited because I really always appreciated the originality they brought to Like I felt like in a time dominated by gangster rap, they kind of brought it back to like the 80s with like where you had just different varieties. Like you can have NWA, but you can also have the Fresh Prince and Jazzy Jeff. Like you know, you can have, you know, Queen Latifah, and you can have like, you know, it was just I loved the eras of rap and hip hop that were like super diverse, where the point was be you. Spit, but spit your way.
Exactly.
And I'm glad we're starting to see more of that return. I feel like, but and for a while it just went indie, and you just had to know where to look for it, like MF Doom and all that stuff. But you know,
even now it's still like that, because I feel like I'm discovering something new that's like not mainstream, but something that I just wasn't, you know, savvy to every day. Like shout out to Spotify first and foremost, because I feel like with Spotify I'm every day finding something new. I'm like, oh, who is this? Wait a minute, because I don't know about you, but I keep my shuffle on that it's
smart shuffle.
Smart shuffle, yeah, it's a smart shuffle, so it plays similar artists of what you're listening to already. That's on your playlist. So I'm like, I use that so that way I can see what other artists that I might gravitate to, that, you know, that's my interest. So nah, shout out to Spotify.
No, shout out to Spotify. It's like, I mean, profit share for your artists better, but that's a whole music industry thing we don't have time to get into.
Yes. That part.
Like, you know, but just as a concept and as a way to explore music, it's a beautiful concept. And I use it all the time, and I'm constantly finding new. It's the only reason I listen to new music, y'all. I guarantee you I would have been that dude listening to his old shit. Like, you know, just like, you know, those deadheads back in the day with their like outdated t-shirts and like, you know, holding on to their glory days. That would have absolutely been me. I'm just listening to the same.
Now, don't get me wrong. I got my playlist of my oldies. I got my oldies, and I got my classics. I got my playlists already set and curated, and they're good to go. And then it's nice to get that new playlist of like songs that I hadn't heard before. So no, that's cool.
Word, yes, yeah. If y'all ever hop in, like HMS will be doing some streams, and you'll definitely hear like our various music influences. So you'll get Skip in there too, and then both of us. It'll be everything. It'll be the kitchen sink, because like one of us alone is pretty much the kitchen sink. People tell me all the time, they're like, your playlist is so like all over the place. I'm like, yeah,
it is all over the place. Mine's is too. Like you'll hear Linkin Park, you'll hear Jay-Z or Nas, you'll hear maybe some Blink 182, and then you'll hear like some I don't know, some pop of Backstreet Boys or Christina Aguilera, and then you'll go and hear some random jazz or some Yo-Yo Ma or something crazy like that.
Hey, you'll hear some chill hop. You'll hear some
lo-fi chill hop. Yeah,
you'll hear suddenly Asian Kung Fu Generation just blast on like with Rewrite or some shit. You're just like, yes.
Anime OPs, you know, just so many different stuff.
I started listening to my buddy. You know Mark, your goddamn dad. He got me to listen to some what was it? Irish folk. Something that would absolutely not be on my radar. But it was just like a stream where he had a rough day, and I was just like, hey, you know what kind of music you want to listen to? I'll drop in anything you want to hear. And he was like, oh, dope, thank you. And then he was like, Irish folk lately, and I was like, all right, let's see what Spotify has in that. And I just was blown away. I was like, yeah, actually, I added some of them to my like songs. I'm just like, I fuck with this.
Interesting.
So yeah, again, when you love music, the world is like your playground. Like there's so much out there. And I think that is something I definitely appreciate about Linkin Park and the artists that they have worked with, is just that they could appreciate just the beauty of like the various forms of music that exist, and saw the possibilities of what could exist.
Yeah, and true that. And not afraid to take
whatever happens.
Not afraid to take chances too.
Yeah,
like you mentioned before, they like from their sounds of like Hybrid Theory and Meteora to switching it up to, 1,000 Suns all the way to Hunting Party. And even the last album doesn't sound like One More Light. This doesn't sound like, in my opinion, any of their albums. But no, they weren't afraid to step outside their comfort zone and try something different. We have, like I said, we have those albums cement. They're there forever. Like, they're not going anywhere. We have Hybrid Theory, we have Meteora. So why remake that? Why redo that when we have those to go back and listen to? Like,
exactly.
And then get the freedom to be able to create something new and step out of our comfort zones and get into a different bag and just try and create something new and different. And no, I love Linkin Park for always, doing that and, taking that chance. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. There are some albums that I didn't, that weren't a favorite of mine, but for the most part, I can't think of a bad album that they've put out.
That part.
It might not be my favorite, but they haven't put out a bad album personally. So
agreed. That's been one of my favorite things recently. For those who've caught like my solo streams, like just like even Drado recommended I put on an album one day, like 1,000 Suns I think was the one, and I was just like, oh yeah, sure. Yeah. And I was like, and I just like listened to it from top to bottom, and some of it I heard before, some of it I either forgotten or hadn't heard, and I was like, yeah, like that's been such a great like adventure to go on top of the stuff they're releasing that's never been before heard and released before. Just going back and finding the stuff that I missed or that I didn't value enough at the time because I was distracted with whatever. It's been nice. You feel like you're getting a piece of their souls. You're getting a piece of who they were at that particular time and what their interests were at that particular time. And it's always exciting because that's always gonna change. And now shout out to them.
Absolutely.
I mean, there are some songs that sound like just like pop songs or whatever. Like
they've done songs like that. It was what album was it? It was one. It was one album. When I first heard it and listened to it, I was like, I don't know if I rock with this. Which one was it? It was it 1,000 Suns or Hunting Party? I don't remember which one it was. Which one had the Catalyst? That was 1,000 Suns, wasn't it?
Man,
I think that was the Catalyst. If I'm not, let me fact check that. Hold on. Yes, it was the Catalyst. I didn't like the Catalyst song overall, but there was some joints on that album where I was like, okay, there's some songs on here, but there were some songs I didn't like. And I think that was like me realizing I'm not going to like every single song or project that an artist puts out. I don't think there's a such thing as a perfect, I wouldn't say that art can be perfect. I feel like it's their art. It's their thing that they created. And you either gravitate it or you don't. There's fans for every single thing, which is why I love music, because there's so many different outlets and so many different genres and so many different things to listen to where you don't have to be a fan of every single thing that comes out. Same thing with movies. I say this to everybody. You don't have to like every single film, or especially MCU fans. You don't have to watch every single MCU fan that comes out. Like, there's something for everybody out there. And that's why I love the fact that Linkin Park put out so much music, including the unreleased stuff, because it's like something for everybody to gravitate and enjoy and get into. So yeah,
absolutely. No, same. All my favorite artists, like they absolutely change over time, and they don't just rest on their laurels from past successes. They actually absolutely take swings. And some of it is or isn't for me, but what's cool about that too is that you end up having these conversations with people that like the album that you kind of checked out on is like the album that brought them in, and you're like, oh, so they have a whole new audience now, because they were willing to explore that side of themselves, as opposed to just pander to what they know people already like. They were like, no, this is what we want to do right now. This is what's interesting to us. And then some new people like that. Some of the old heads are like, and all the above. Like, it's just, I think that's, it's a beautiful thing to get to explore with people. Like, oh, that's the one that's the one that brought you in. Interesting. But yeah, it's such a beautiful thing, Linkin Park. Again, we're diehards over here. I just wanted to. I asked Drado if like he would hop on here and just like suss this out with me, just because like it was a lot for me to process.
It was a lot of information.
I was just sitting here going like, I would love to talk to Drado about this only because I know our fandom level for this is similar. You know, Drado probably even edges me out by a little bit, but like our fandom level for this is similar. And I knew that we're both reasonable people. We're honest people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we'll tell you how we feel, but like we're also going to give people a chance. And I felt like the internet could use this because I feel like we're about to get blasted with a bunch of people saying Linkin Park is dead. They betrayed us. Fuck them. Like, you know, I'm just waiting for that wave of toxicity. Maybe we'll look out and it's not going to be like that. But
maybe, fingers crossed, not gonna let it go wrong. All of that. But it's true. You got, and then you got people that that probably didn't even listen to the song and just read or saw what they saw on social media. Like they replaced Chester with this girl. Oh, da 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 da. Hate. Like you ain't even listen to her. You're already siding with. Okay, buddy. All right.
Didn't even give her a chance. Didn't give them a chance. So yeah, so no, I just thought it'd be cool to get like a very like kind of chill, like but honest take on all of this, and that's what I love about our vibe over here at Hard Mode Selected. We get to go in on things, and but we're always, I think all three of us, we're always willing to look at what's the other side of it, you know.
Yes.
However we feel, we're always willing to be like, well, to be fair, you know, and I think the world could use a little bit of that.
Agreed.
But no, thanks y'all for kicking it with us while we got to talk about a band we absolutely love, music that we absolutely love, our journeys with that music. You know, our lives are forever different, and I would say for the better, thanks to what Linkin Park has done for us. And I guess that'll be my final point personally, is that the reason they will not get any hate mail from me is A, because I'm above hate mail. That's just childish. But B, but the reason they're not going to get any like harsh criticism from me is because my attitude towards all these things is the same as it's been since like fucking Star Wars came back in the late 90s, like 99 or whatever, when the Phantom Menace came out. Like, look, however you feel about an artist's new work, they're still the same artist that gave you the old joints that you love. So
that part.
So don't act like they're not still those goats. They're not still those wonderful people that gave you something that you didn't have before, and that has helped enrich your life. Be grateful. You don't have to follow them where they're going now, but don't act like they didn't give you something beautiful, you know?
Yes.
So.
And definitely want to normalize that. Like, it's okay to, you know, no longer follow a certain artist, you know, like you still have their classics and their albums that you know listen to in the beginning, but if you don't want to follow their journey to, you know, where they're going because you're not a fan of what they're doing, that's also okay. Like, you don't have to, you know, you don't have to be that fake fan that, you know, oh, they trash now and blah blah blah. No, don't do that. Like, they're still they did something to you and made some type of, you know, they made some type of position or put, you know, or some sort of like position in your life where they're impacting you in some way, shape, or form. So yeah, don't discredit them or, you know, disrespect them because of where they went or what road or, you know, what choice they decided to make. So no, I definitely want to, you know, wish the best towards Linkin Park and all their future endeavors and these new members. And I'm hoping that you know, they get an audience out there that gravitates towards them and vibes out with their new sound. You know, yeah, shout out to Linkin Park, man, forever.
100%. It's a hard road, whatever they would have chosen, and you know, can't help but want to support people, and you know, show them love for the things that they've given us, and yeah. So
Absolutely.
it is what it is, y'all. Who knows? You might catch us. You might catch us next time, and we might be like, yo, it's all right, or we might be like, nah, not fucking with this still. But you know,
we'll let y'all know after the album. Once we listen to the album, we'll have a better opinion on it or overall thoughts.
Time to process. But no, we appreciate y'all. If you would like to find more of what we do here at Hard Mode Selected, you can find us obviously at our hub on YouTube, at HRD Mode Selected on YouTube. You'll find us there. You'll find us also on Twitch, same thing, at Hard Mode Selected. And you can find us on TikTok as well as Instagram. I almost forgot. Instagram we're on there too. So be sure to check us out. We will be putting out some more streams, some more gameplay footage, some more reviews, and some more podcast episodes. We're very excited for what we have to share with you. So thanks for coming on this journey with us. And Drado, if you put out, if you're doing anything like music, movies, whatever it is, like where do people find you?
Yeah. For those that do not know, I'll announce this because I don't know when we're gonna drop this, but even though I have retired from Twitch on my solo channel, I still will be gaming on the Hard Mode Selected channel. So for those who have been on my Discord or have seen me stream and probably wondering where have you been, I'm no longer solo streaming, so I will still be doing collabs. I still will be doing Hard Mode Selected streams, so that's not gonna stop. But you could definitely still go to my channel on Twitch at just_Drado, twitch.tv/just_Drado, and check out whatever vibes is on there. I did purposely leave collections of past stuff that I recorded on there for people to check out if interested. Last game I played was Star Wars. Which one was it? Survivor, that's the one. Jedi Survivor. Yes. For some reason I was gonna say Outlaws, but I was like, I haven't even played Outlaws yet. So yes, it was Jedi Survivor. So yeah, definitely if you're interested. And then of course, like Phil mentioned, Hard Mode Selected. But for my personal stuff, you can find me on just_Drado everywhere. So YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, just_Drado. I've been getting into a lot more acting stuff as of late, so you'll probably notice some acting stuff on my IG as well as some vacation stuff. So if you're interested in any of that stuff, definitely check it out. And
definitely check it out.
I'm probably gonna I'm thinking about doing some type of like I don't know, review or YouTube something just about my adventure in Japan, because it was my dream vacation, and I feel like that deserves something recorded and put on my YouTube. So be on the lookout for that. It was a great time. My first time being there, and I feel like I have some stories to share about the trip that I want to talk about. So yeah, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, just_Drado. Beautiful.
Yes, absolutely. Check that out, y'all. The pictures from Japan are just, they're so much fun. They're so much fun. So
yeah, I made today my last day to post pictures because it was just too many. I was like, all right, I'm flooding now. Let me just stop. I was literally posting them in there just so because for those that do not know, on Instagram, Instagram alerts you with like memories the following year. So I wanted those pictures on there, so when I do get those stories of that stuff, they're in there. Their memories are stored there. I don't have Facebook anymore, for those that do not know. So that's my only place to put stuff on social media. It used to be Facebook where I do albums, yada yada. I don't have Facebook, so Instagram has been my place to post stuff. So yeah, that's why. But today was my last day, so I'm done. I'm done posting stuff.
I was thrilled. It's really dope to see that stuff. I've been,
because I don't even post like that. For those that know me, I don't even be on social media like that. I post like probably once every other month. So yeah,
it was cool. It was like, this is the most I've gotten from Drado in a while, and it's like, it's all positive. It's all in like living his best life. So I'm like, it was cool. It was cool to check it out. But no, definitely see that stuff. Yeah, I feel like there's something else I was gonna say. I forgot what it was. But anyways, if you're looking for me, I'm at Phil Special Meter on the various platforms. So Twitch, YouTube. I have a Patreon, and I feel like and Instagram, of course. So you can find me all those places. If you want my viewpoints on the world, including everything in the kitchen sink and current events, you can find me on Instagram. You will never find anything like particularly political or current eventsy in the other spaces. maybe YouTube someday, but like right now, trying to keep some nice positive spaces to like, you know, give you guys a little bit of fuel in the tank for the lives we live.
Absolutely.
For sure. So
there's a lot going on, you know, with the Palestinian stuff. You got the elections coming up. You got video games, you know, strike stuff going on. It's like so much stuff going on. It's a lot.
Bruh. No, this is the exact reason I was just like, I'm happy for Dredo. He's not on social media that much, and he's out there doing stuff that's healthy and good. But no, it's definitely a lot going on in the world. Definitely take care of yourselves. Making sure,
yes, please.
As you know, we both, as all three of us always say, you know, just like look after yourselves. Like be kind to yourself. You know, stay hydrated. I know it sounds silly, but like it's easy to forget to drink water. It really is. Because there's just so much happening. And like I find myself, we were talking about this before we started rolling. We find ourselves sometimes like for not eating as much, you know, or you know, or whatever. And like, you know, so like definitely take time. That's something I've been working on recently. I guess if I have anything to share personally, it's like right now, I've really been focused on just slow it down. Like I had to be kind of in survival mode for a while because a lot of bullshit was happening personally and abroad. Right. So I was just like, I have to just like, just hustle to manage all these things. But like, I was like, all right, you can't stay in survival mode indefinitely. You have to come back down. Even if stuff's still happening, you have to like find a place to zen and like refocus and remember that you can only handle things kind of, as my dad used to say, you know, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time, right? So like, no matter how urgent it all seems, at some point I realized I needed to just like, all right, we're going to get proper sleep. We're going to wake up and like, I'm going to start my day with, you know, with intention and prayer and like focus. And I'm going to drink my water and I'm going to make sure I eat breakfast. That's been my latest like focus. Like you're going to eat breakfast really good. Right away.
That's really good.
You're not just going to start thinking about, oh, I got to do this and I got to do that and forget. You're like, you're going to eat. And if you're a little bit late for something else you wanted to do, too bad. But you're going to take care of yourself. So I just want to say, everyone, please, in these difficult times, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, have some patience with one another if you can. We're all most of us are doing the best we know how to do. And, you know, we need you. The world needs you. So, yeah, everyone take care. Dredo, what do we usually tell people here? What's the motto? You know, when life hits you hard, what do we do?
When life hits you hard, you just hit back harder. Be easy, y'all. Peace.